This is a bit sad. End of an era, you could say. Really, I feel that it's ending before the technology ever actually took off. The Segway, the original two-wheeled vehicle once hailed as the future of personal transportation, has reached the end of the road. Segway Incorporated is ending production of the Segway PT. That's the big-wheeled electric device that has become popular with tourists and police officers since it debuted back in 2001. Within its first decade, the Segway PT became a staple in security and law enforcement, viewed as an effective and efficient personal vehicle. That comes from Judy Kai. She's the president of Segway. The company will end production of the vehicle on July 15th, she said. The decision was not made lightly, and while the current global pandemic did impact sales and production, it was not the deciding factor in our decision, she said. The company was founded in 1999 by inventor Dean Kamen, whose idea for the new transportation device grew from his early work on a motorized wheelchair that could climb stairs. Initially called the Segway Human Transporter, the vehicle was the subject of hype and fevered speculation before it was unveiled in 2001 on ABC's Good Morning America. The first models went on sale to the public through Amazon the next year, according to Segway. The vehicle allowed users to ride vertically on a platform and change direction by shifting their balance and using the handlebars. But early on, the vehicles were banned in some cities because users tended to lose control. Since its debut, the Segway has been mocked for being overhyped and because of some high-profile mishaps. In 2003, the company recalled the first 6,000 Segways it had sold after a glitch caused users to fall off when the battery died. The same year, President George W. Bush tumbled off a Segway at his family's estate in Maine. In 2009, a British businessman, James W. Heselden, acquired Segway Incorporated. A year later, he died after he plunged from a cliff in West Yorkshire while touring his property on a Segway. In 2015, a cameraman riding a Segway ran into the Olympic sprinter Usain Bolt as he took a victory lap on the World Track and Field Championship in Beijing. Mr. Bolt fell backwards onto the cameraman's legs, then quickly returned to his feet, uninjured. If you've ever aspired to be a real-life Mark Watney collecting samples of rocks and dirt on Mars, now is kinda your chance with NASA's All4Mars project. You can now take a virtual trip around the red planet in the Curiosity rover. The simulation, designed by a team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, asked users to help classify Martian terrain. You'll label images taken by Curiosity from Mars' surface as sand or bedrock, for example, and scientists will then use the crowdsourced data to train a future rover to better navigate around dangerous obstacles. That's a pretty cool project. Mars rovers have a tendency to get stuck in the sand and sometimes aren't able to get themselves out. So the project aims to make rovers like self-driving cars. In order to explore space without a human crew, the vehicles have to know where it's safe to drive, land, sleep, and of course hibernate. When you open the classification tool, you'll be instructed to select different surface types, rocks or soil, and note areas of a surface image using a drawing tool that includes your chosen type of terrain. Once you've identified everything in the image, select Done to move on to the next photo. There's a helpful tutorial popover and a discussion board too, where you can ask questions or troubleshoot the tool. This same crowdsourcing concept has been used before to train neural networks on cityscapes and house numbers back on Earth. To be clear, well, you won't actually be piloting Curiosity around the Martian surface. Even virtually, this is not a video game. But you will get a close look at the surface of Mars and, of course, contribute to the scientific discovery at the same time. HBO Max, the Warner Media-owned streaming service that launched in May, has recently announced that it has made a series commitment to an untitled TV show tied to the movie The Batman, currently scheduled for release in 2021. The show will be set in the Gotham City Police Department with a creative team that includes Matt Reeves, the movie's co-writer and director, along with Boardwalk Empire creator Terrence Winter. This sounds like familiar territory. The police department of a city overrun by colorful criminals was probably perhaps best explored in the Gotham Central comic series written by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka and drawn by Michael Lark. But it was also the focus of the recent bad Fox TV show Gotham. However, the announcement from HBO Max emphasized that this will be an extension of the feature film, ultimately launching a new Batman universe across multiple platforms. It's an approach that the streamer is also taking with Dune: The Sisterhood, a series that ties into the upcoming Dune movie. This is an amazing opportunity, not only to expand the vision of the world I am creating in the film, but to explore it in the kind of depth and detail that only a long-form format can afford, and getting to work with the incredibly talented Terrence Winter, who has written so insightfully and powerfully about worlds of crime and corruption, is an absolute dream, Reeves said. It also remains to be seen whether the show is influenced in any way by the ongoing protests for racial justice. It might seem absurd to connect real-world politics with a comic book TV show, but the protests have led to a Hollywood reckoning of sorts with how movies and TV have glorified the police. For example, Andy Samberg recently said the writers and cast of Brooklyn Nine-Nine are trying to rethink the show to make something that, quote, we all feel morally okay about. Video game hoarders, rejoice. Video games are pretty expensive these days, and people who have been hoarding them the longest are definitely getting the biggest payouts. To give you some scale, the average price of a new release for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, or Sony PlayStation is about $60 US. Throw in some in-game microtransactions on purchases, and you could be looking at a whole lot more. But how much is too much? Say $114,000? Well, not for someone, apparently. And they spent that money on the original Super Mario Bros. For the original Nintendo Entertainment System. The game originally released in 1985. It was sold recently at auction by major international auction house Heritage Auctions. The winning bid was first noticed by video game journalist Chris Kohler and highlighted by The Verge. The winner of the auction is currently unknown. At $114,000, though, this copy of Super Mario Bros. Will take the title of the highest price ever paid on record for a video game. Just to give you a sense of how much money that is, you could purchase around 440 Nintendo Switch consoles, if you could find them right now, of course, at a retail price including tax. That kind of money might make you want to rummage through those old boxes in your closet to find your worn-out old copy of the game. But there's a reason that this particular copy went for as much as it did. The $114,000 copy of Super Mario Bros. Has never been taken out of the box. The cartridge has never been played with. According to Heritage Auctions listing, it's been professionally graded by experts as a 9.4 out of 10, meaning that the unopened box is in near perfect shape. It still looks exactly like it did back when you could buy it from retail stores in the 1980s. The original Super Mario Bros. Has sold more than 40 million copies throughout its long history. The previous highest price paid for a video game was $100,000 just last year for a copy of the same in-box Super Mario Bros. Game. All that said, congratulations to the anonymous person who just spent $114,000. Boy, that's hard to say. for a rare piece of video game history. The assumption is that this copy of Super Mario Bros. Will sit in a private collection or be put up for display, but really, who knows? Maybe this person is a masochist who really just wants to rip into what's essentially a $114,000 box in order to play a 35-year-old game he can download online for free.